Welcome to Liz's book review. Wow, 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 wow. We're going to review The Good Lie by A.R. Torre. I got this as a blind date with a book. I really liked it. It was a short read. It was under 300 pages, under 250. I read it in one day. I read it on Sunday. It was amazing. I couldn't put it down. I took a break from another book to read this book, and I am not upset at all. I really enjoyed it. I didn't see a lot of what was coming. One criticism is at the end, the characters get together, and I thought that was fucking weird. Like, well, and I'll explain why. Okay, here we go. We have Dr. Gwen Moore. And Dr. Gwen is a psychiatrist for people with violent tendencies, and she's very interested in murders. So her patients are people who have like homicidal ideations, people who want to kill their wives, people who obsess about killing. But what makes them different is the fact that they are seeking psychiatric help, so that way they don't actually kill somebody. So she is an advocate for these people because she's like, they're getting the help they need. Great. There's this one client, his name is John Abbott, and he's been seeing Dr. Gwen for a year and is obsessed with wanting to kill his wife. That's all he talks about, killing his wife. And then she gets a call from him at like 9 in the morning. She misses the call. She listens to the voicemail. She tries to call back. He doesn't answer. Turns out that his wife and him are both dead at their kitchen table. It appears as if she had a heart attack and then he killed himself with a knife by stabbing himself. That's how it appears. That is allegedly what happened. Cool. Now, another part of the story. We got the bloody heart serial killer. What? That motherfucker is on the loose. 6 victims so far and a 7th abducted. Yeah.
That's pretty proficient.
Mm-hmm. The 7th actually escapes. So we're told. We eventually find out that he was actually let go. And he doesn't escape. But he tells everybody he escapes and he gets all this media attention. And he's got like, he's straight up Stockholm syndrome. He points the finger at somebody else when that ain't real. Yes. Okay. Gwen and Robert meet at John Abbott's funeral with his wife Brooke. She goes, she feels like she needs to pay her condolences. This guy Robert says that John Abbott was his pharmacist, that his son had diabetes, so they were regulars there. And he got to know him pretty well. So he also went to the funeral. They end up doing it. They don't really describe it in the book, which is fine, whatever. They have fun, they end up sleeping together. She tells him that she was a friend of Brooke's, not a friend of John's. They sleep together, they wake up in the morning, she wakes up to coffee, like the smell of coffee and breakfast, and she's like feeling so good, she's naked in the sheets, ba-da-da-da-da. She comes down the stairs, she's passing her office, and he's standing at her desk, looking at an open file.
That's unprofessional.
He's a lawyer, he knows confidentiality. And she's like, oh my God, did I do something illegal? Like, it is my home office. And it's private. I didn't exactly expect him to go through my shit. And he's like, why didn't you tell me you knew John? And she's like, you know, whatever. And she's like, you gotta fucking go. He leaves. All right. And then we find out the 7th victim points the finger at this teacher from the high school. This teacher has a history of getting reports against him for sexually assaulting female students, but never male students. And all of the victims that have been abducted have all been juniors, seniors in high school. They all look about the same. They're all well-off, rich kids who are physically capable, attractive, or kind of like the lady killers in their town. You know, like they always got a girl calling. Ring, ring. So the 7th victim points the finger at the teacher. And Robert's like, it wasn't the teacher. I know it's not the teacher. I'm so positive that it's not the teacher that I'm actually going to go and I'm going to defend this guy who is being blamed by the 7th victim. And the reason why this is such a fucking shock and awe is because his son was the 6th victim. No.
That was pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then he like makes up with Gwen, brings her flowers, apologizes, and asks her to do a psychiatric profile, like a serial killer profile on the teacher that got arrested. Well, not necessarily that. She has all 6 of the case files from the victims. So without talking to the alleged serial killer, she makes the profile based on that. And the profile is kind of confusing for her. At first, she misses over the aftercare part, where these kids are being burned with cigarettes, but then they're being healed after. People are putting Neosporin on it, whatever. So, at first she thinks that the serial killer is possibly schizotypal, or has DID, which is dissociative identity disorder, previously known as multiple personalities. That's like a medical term. But then we actually find out that John Abbott is a serial killer, and the person who was doing the aftercare was his wife. She knew that he was abducting these kids, assaulting them, and then she'd go up there and hang out with them. Yeah, they were in on it. And the 7th victim fell in love with Brooke. She let him go, right? She lets him go, and the reason why he points his finger at the teacher is because when she was in high school, that teacher raped her.
No shit.
Yep.
So she's like, hey, you let me go. You get this guy that raped me. Blame him for this.
Yep.
We all stop this.
But then when John finds out, he poisons her, his wife. And he is taken over by guilt. But mind you, Richard is outside watching this, right? And he's like, or not Richard, Robert. Robert's outside watching this. He sees the 7th victim leave. So he goes up to that house. He's going to confront them. And then he sees the dead wife with, what's his name, John, crying over her. And he walks in. He was going to shoot him. And then he was like, man, fuck it. Grabbed the gun, stood behind him, and went like this into the stomach of John and stood there and watched him bleed out. Right? Now, this is where it gets a little weird. At the end, Robert, Gwen, they have this like cute will they won't they thing the whole time. He asks her, did you know about John? And she was like, yeah. Not realizing that he was the serial killer yet. What she knew about John was that he had planned to kill his wife. Which it was her duty as a doctor to report that. But she didn't because she wanted to save her own ass, cover her own ass. And she didn't. But when Robert heard that, he thought he was talking about the victims and that she knew that he was the serial killer. So now he's got a vendetta against Gwen, and he shows up at her house, fucking walks in with a knife, threatens to kill her, and she's like, she pleads with him. She's just basically like, look, I have his file right here. You can see that he's never talked about children once. It was only about his obsession about his wife, because he was so obsessed that his wife was obsessed with another man, and that other man was the kids they were abducting. Crazy, right? She pleads with him. He believes her because Robert's not inherently a killer. He doesn't get caught with it. She doesn't get in trouble. And at the end of the book, he texts her to meet up for a drink, and she agrees. And honestly, okay, they had the will they won't they, but he showed up to your house with a knife and you had to plead for your life.
Hot.
Don't end up with that man. That was something I didn't like about the book. But the thing that shocked me was that the wife was in on it.
Yeah.
I really didn't see it coming.
Wacky.
So, I thought it was a really good book. I will give it 4.5 stars. It was that good. So good that I'm actually looking at other books by this author to read. So if anybody has any suggestions, please leave a comment. Everybody loves comments. Alright, thanks for coming to Liz's book review. Wong, 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 wong.